back to this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Brody, and today we are going over the Week 13 scenarios that the Bears need in order to help continue to push to get into that final wild card spot in the NFC playoff race. Before we begin, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Stupid Car Tray.
Tired of your pizza toppings sliding, office coffee distracting you while driving, grease and other stains getting on your seat, or you're just enjoying a game on the couch and don't want to lean over? Look no further than the Stupid Car Tray. Visit www.stupidcartray.com, link in the description.
So let's go into topic number one, the obvious. The Chicago Bears play the Arizona Cardinals this weekend at Soldier Field, which is a huge game for the Chicago Bears for a variety of reasons. One, obviously, this is going to help continue to push them into the playoffs and improve their record. But also, there's a lot of players out, and the Bears have a decent shot at winning this game. Number one, it's not an easy matchup. There's no doubt about it. But there are some key players on the Arizona side of the ball that are out or potentially out this upcoming Sunday. J.J. Watt, for starters, DeAndre Hopkins could be out. No Chase Edmonds. And the biggest one, no potential Kyler Murray, who is still dealing with an injury. But the Chicago Bears will not have Khalil Mack, and potentially no Akiem Hicks, no Roquan Smith, no Allen Robinson, and no Justin Fields. Again, those are all potential, but Akiem Hicks has been out the last couple weeks. Allen Robinson's been out the last couple weeks, and Justin Fields is dealing with a rib injury, which could linger longer than we expect. And obviously, the biggest one of them all, Roquan Smith. Roquan Smith suffered a hamstring injury against the Detroit Lions. He is battling back, and that is obviously no easy injury to come back from. So hopefully we get some new reports in the next upcoming days on Roquan Smith's status. But as of right now, he is questionable for this upcoming Sunday's game. If the Bears do win, their record goes to 5-7, and they inch closer to that final wild card spot. So now, what do the Bears need from other teams around the NFL during Week 13 in order to help them get even closer to that final spot? Number one, Dallas versus New Orleans. That is a huge game because we need the Dallas Cowboys to win. New Orleans currently sits at 5-6, and if they lose, they drop to 5-7. The Bears will go past them since New Orleans will be on a 2-game losing streak, and the Bears will be that much closer to the final playoff spot. The biggest game of them all, though, in my opinion, is Minnesota versus Detroit. Now, why is this a big game? One, Minnesota is right there in regards to being in that final wild card spot. But also, this is the divisional game, which the Lions, though they are 0-10-1, have a decent shot at winning this game. Potentially no Dalvin Cook. Kirk Cousins, and the Lions almost beat the Browns. They tied with the Steelers, and as sad as it is, the Bears only beat them in the final second. So don't count out the Lions. That's all I got to say. Do not count out the Detroit Lions, and if they win, Minnesota will drop back to 5-7, and the Bears will be looking pretty good in regards to the standings. The second biggest game, the Washington football team versus the Las Vegas Raiders. We need a Raiders win badly for this game. Washington currently has the final spot in the NFC Wild Card race at number 7, and if they were to lose to the Raiders, they will fall out. Bears would then have the final spot next Monday if all the scenarios above and the scenarios below happen. So here's the next one. New York Giants versus Miami Dolphins. We need a Miami Dolphins win because that'll push the Giants back to 4-8 and pretty much kicking them almost out of the entire wild card race as a whole. Tampa Bay versus Atlanta. Tom Brady versus Matt Ryan. Redo the Super Bowl matchup from a few years ago. Tom Brady and the Bucs are doing really well right now. They're pretty hot, and I think that this is going to be a win for the Bucs, and it would push Atlanta back even more, which helps the Bears. And if the point difference is just as bad as the Bears game, which honestly could happen, the Bears could be pushed even farther forward. New York Jets versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Jets play the Philadelphia Eagles at home, but the Eagles are actually better on the road. So if the Jets were to pull this win off, Philadelphia falls back even further. It would be a huge blow to the Eagles team and would put the Bears even farther ahead. Jacksonville versus the Los Angeles Rams. This is a stretch game, but the Jacksonville Jaguars almost beat the Atlanta Falcons last weekend. The Rams are coming off a pretty hard loss to the Green Bay Packers. And the Rams, I don't know, they make all these trades, they get all these big players, and they're not really clicking all that well. So don't be surprised if Jacksonville can somehow pull an upset in LA, and the Bears would be even closer again. Finally, San Francisco versus Seattle. Russell Wilson is 14-4 all time against the San Francisco 49ers. If they were to pull off a win, even though they just lost last night to the Washington football team, the 49ers would fall back. Bears would be pushed forward. and the Seahawks are pretty much out of it anyway. Russell Wilson doesn't like losing to the 49ers, so don't expect the Seahawks to throw this game. And then finally, the last topic, the pros and cons of making the playoffs for the Bears. Let's start with the pros. Number one, it's the playoffs. Obviously, the Bears will be in the playoffs 3 times out of the last 4 years. That is something the Bears have not done since the 1980s. So this is a big deal for the fan base. It's a big deal overall also for the growing core of the Chicago Bears. Young guys getting playoffs experience is always beneficial, especially if Justin Fields is the one that is leading the Bears to the playoff. If it's Andy Dalton, it's Andy Dalton. But still, Fields will get that playoff atmosphere. He will learn. And overall, it's just, there's a lot of pros for the Bears. And a lot of people don't think about this, but the Bears become a more attractive destination with 3 out of the last 4 years in the playoff. Bears have a lot of money next year in the cap. And then also that first round pick with the Giants that we sent for Justin Fields is much less valuable. And then con, which it's really only one con, Matt Nagy's job security. Now, I know, really the only con, and it sucks. But in all honesty, if Nagy were to lose in the first round again, and he also only has 2 touchdowns all time in the postseason through 8 quarters so far, Bears are still going to kick him to the side. I think that they'd want to start fresh. They know they have a team that can make the playoffs, and they want a coach that's finally going to push them over the edge and win some playoffs. So overall, Matt Nagy is a 500 coach, if best, minus 2018. So pump the brakes. Matt Nagy's still on the hot seat no matter what, especially having 3 seasons in a row with 4-game losing streak and 2 seasons in a row with 5-game losing streak. So don't worry. I think that the Bears should make the playoffs and continue this push. And they have a pretty good shot in the second half of this. So with that, thank you very much for joining this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Rohde, and we will see you guys next time.